Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to all you guys who are already here and those who will join and all those who will watch the recording. This is Sonic Sunday number 27. And today's an interesting day astrologically. I don't know how many of you follow astrology, but I've been becoming more and more intrigued by it because, as you know, I'm always interested in things that are useful. And I've been finding astrology very useful lately. I have a lot of good friends who are great astrologers. And so I kind of have been marinating in it a little bit. And so yesterday we had a solar eclipse, a third one in the Aries. And today Neptune goes into Aries for the first time in something like 160 years. What's interesting in my chart is that I have Chiron, the wounded healer, at 0 degrees of Aries. So Neptune is passing right over my Chiron. And given that Chiron is the archetype of the wounded healer, this has definitely been my jam and why I went into healing in the first place, because I was extremely wounded and really needed to figure out how to sort myself out. And so over the years, I've participated in the creation of a number of systems and tools that have helped to heal these wounds truly. And I know that if you guys are here with me, you've also probably made use of some of those. And actually, very excited to share that I have coming up, I'm going to be sharing my third system, the stabilizing statements, in a live virtual class that starts in April 8th. So a week from Tuesday, we will be diving into this system. It is the simplest and most useful system I've created so far. I wrote a book about it. I created a map, and I make use of it all the time. In fact, many of the people who've already been exposed to it and are working with it, and I shared it for the very first time here almost exactly a year ago on my April 8th, 2024 broadcast. So if you haven't seen that and you're like, well, I want to know about these stabilizing statements, you can go back and watch that one. But in the class, we're going to be going really in depth and tuning each of the areas of these statements. Basically, it's a system for flushing out the hidden beliefs that you are carrying that are stymieing you. And I think this Neptune into Aries, sort of the biggest theme that I've encountered is has to do with the spiritual warrior, right? Are we ready to engage our spiritual warrior self in a coherent way? Because it's really easy with energies like this to engage in a lot of projections of our own integrated shadow side, project those out into characters and villains in the world, and get very self-righteous about it. But truly, a spiritual warrior is someone who is dedicated, I think, to coherence above all. And shouting into the chaos is not really the way to go, I don't think. You're just adding more incoherence to the mix when you're projecting and being angry. What we really, really want to do is be a stable, coherent, constructive force in the world. And the more of us that are aligning ourselves to our upright self and acting from that place, the more of that we're going to see in the world. Right? You want to be what you want to see. And so that's very important. It's very easy to get angry, to feel like a victim, to get very frustrated. But to me, this is really an invitation to step into the power of your own coherence. Many astrologers also point to that this is a time of major endings. And I know astrology is always like, it's time to let go of this, and this is ending, and that's beginning. And I know that could get a little insipid maybe, but this really does seem that way in a big way, certainly for me in my own chart. And I'm curious what you're noticing too around this. So it seems like a good time to do a group tuning. And if y'all have got your forks with you, I will invite you to start banging on them with me. So go grab them if you haven't. And so what is the book title for these statements in MAP? Very simple. They're called the stabilizing statements. The subtitle is Words to Live By, and that came from Dawn, my assistant, who's here in the audience. Everybody shout up Dawn. I would not be able to do what I do without Dawn. She is a magnificent assistant and helps me in so many ways and is always at all of these events in the background. And we just designed a glorious map and book cover to go with it. What's cool is that I'm not going to be doing the final edit on the book until after the class ends. So everybody who's participating in the course, your feedback is going to be really informative to me in shaping the final draft and your experience with these statements. So, and very important, we were running an early bird special on this because so many people wait till the last minute to sign up and then maybe forget about it. So our early bird special is $100 off. It's $199 or $50 off, I think, until Tuesday morning. So if you want to jump in on this, jump in on it. We have payment plans and that sort of thing. So I would love to see you there. I'm excited about this. I know other people are excited about it. And just because it's so effective, it really is so effective in helping us to not come out sideways. When we get under pressure, we come out sideways and we exhibit our frustration or our anger or our sadness or our victimhood or blah, 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 all the stories that are just don't really serve us or anybody else in the long run. What really serves ourselves and the people around us is if we really exhibit our best self, especially under stress, right? I mean, how's everybody doing driving? I think that driving, more than anything, tells you a lot about yourself and what kinds of emotions you are harboring that are undigested and unexpressed because they really come out in driving. And I'm feeling inclined to share with you, and we will get into tuning soon, something that I do while driving that is such a great exercise, and I would love to encourage you to do the same. So I call it bubbling. And when I first started going to California, in 2015, 2016, coming from Vermont, where we have 2-lane highway and rush hour traffic is like 3 exits, it's really mild here. But in California, there's 6 lanes of traffic and lots of crazy stuff going on. And so I created this technique where when I'm driving, I envision myself in a big bubble, and I throw my field out to create like a buffer zone. And I drive very much with the intention of keeping myself in a bubble. I've gotten really good at it. I mean, there can be like a whole pack of traffic up there and a whole pack of traffic behind me, and then like me in the middle, like nowhere, because I'm very consciously and mindfully creating that. And I was explaining this to my kids, and my son said that, well, he didn't do anything that was high and mighty like that. And I was like, high and mighty? I hadn't really thought of it that way. But he said, I just look for the places where I can slide in. And I'm like, well, I create those spaces, right? Because I'm creating so much room around me that people can change lanes and stuff all around me and makes their life easier. And I really bring this radiant coherence with me everywhere I go when I'm driving. And so even if somebody cuts in front of me, I'm in this buoyant, buffered place that it doesn't matter. It allows me to be patient, kind, and not go into those places. I certainly used to do that, but I don't anymore. So I really want to invite you, just as a simple way to bring more coherence to the world, that you practice bubbling while you're driving. And in the beginning, I could do it in California, but I couldn't do it in Vermont. But now I can even do it in Vermont. Even in like 2 lanes of traffic in rush hour, I can still create a bubble around me. And I think that in general, I do my best to create a coherent bubble around me wherever I go, right? Because we are all creating and informing the world. Good. Okay. So we'll just see, where are you guys all signing in from? How's everybody feeling today? We had that eclipse yesterday. We've got Neptune going into Aries today. there's a lot of other astrological stuff that's going to be bubbling up over the next few months. But what do you know, how's that affecting you? And maybe what are you feeling challenged by at the moment? Catch the early bird because we need you at this new amazing class covering new ground. I love covering new ground, right? You know, once I've got the stabilizing statements all wrapped up, I'll probably be like, on to the next cool thing that's even easier and faster. I certainly make use of the stabilizing statements. I make use of the sonic anatomy, which is in the Sing the Body Electric. I absolutely make use of Biofield Tuning, and I make use of my sonic slider. So I created all of these things, and I use them, and I use them to help me so that I can be coherent, right? It's a very incoherent world out there, and we do need tools to help us to find our center and stay there. All right. I feel rejuvenated, extra scattered energy, weirdly anxious, constantly slopping and spilling stuff. So is my upstairs neighbor. They drop things all the time. I don't understand. Feeling anxious and tired, hard to ground, bumping into things, dropping things. So I think for those of you who read Tuning the Human Biofield, they did these experiments in what they call a MU room, where they removed the ambient electromagnetic energy. And what happened was people went to pieces. They went to pieces emotionally. They got all sloppy and started dropping things. It appears to me, and I might be wrong about this, that our atmosphere is highly electrified at the moment. And when the electricity is higher, the magnetic field is lower. And so when the magnetic field is weak around us, our balance is worse. Is another thing they found, was that people's balance wasn't any good and that they were scattered, right? So the sun has been very active. It just shot out an X-class flare. There was big earthquakes going on, right? Prayers for the people in Myanmar, terrible devastation there. So there's a lot of environmental volatility and emotional volatility going on because we're not sort of swaddled by this nice, strong magnetic field that just helps to keep us in order. Struggling with old self not shedding. I understand. Well, and that's part of what we're going to be tuning today, right? If we're really on the cusp of this transition from Neptune in Pisces, which is very watery, certainly from 2012 till now. And I remember in 2012, because I started writing my master's thesis in 2010, and I published it in 2012. And I remember really observing in 2012 that there was sort of a sea change in people's receptivity to more unusual things like tuning forks in the biofield. And that has absolutely increased over the past 16 years as we've maybe all kind of woken up to the more spiritual, noble aspects of ourselves. And I think that this entree into Aries is really an invitation for us to step out, maybe with more confidence in who we are. I'm giving a keynote talk for the 66th annual convention of Dowsers at the end of May in Ferrisburg, Maine, right on the Maine coast. I'd love to see some of you there if you also dowse. And the subject of my talk is about, I don't know, there's different titles for it, from woo to true, normalizing the paranormal. One fun one is subtle energy is real and you are not a freak. And I do think it's time for those of us who maybe have been embarrassed by our proclivity towards exploration of the more subtle realms, to really stand in our power and be like, I'm not a freak, you're just ignorant. And let me school you on how this is real and how this is based in science. And it's totally legit. And I'm not going to apologize for my weirdness anymore, right? Yeah, we're going to get t-shirts made. Subtle energy is real and you're not a freak. Because we really, if not us, who, right? If not now, when, right? That's a very good and apropos quote. And, first and foremost in your relationship with yourself, can you dig in deeper and be more successful in your endeavors to stop floundering, like I talked about last time? Yeah. I feel much better since I discovered you last week. I'm so glad. I mean, I really have provided a lot of free resources for people. I know a lot of people complain about the healing arts and, these healers are supposed to give away things for free. And I don't disagree with that, which is why I've done a lot of things for free. But I also have a team that supports me and, they need to eat too. So we're going to do it all. I feel the call to step out and still struggling to fully own who I am and what I'm here to create. Right now is the time. Right now is the time. And I think the best place to start, if you don't know what to do, is to start getting your own house in order. Start just by making a commitment to keep your home tidier, keep your car tidier, eat better. Step in and decisively override when you're like going to go do something self-destructive and an old pattern. The only person who's going to save you from that is you. Nobody can step in and change the way that you're choosing to treat yourself. Okay? So just a really good place to start is put your own house in order. Start exercising more for the joy of it. Start treating yourself to food that you love that's well prepared. Buy bunches of flowers. Really bring love and honoring and respect and discipline into your own being. And once you move through that practice of shaping yourself up, like sometimes that alone is enough, because just by being who you are informing the collective. And the more love you bring to yourself, more love, more respect, more kindness, more care, more devotion, just by that act alone, the photon trails you're leaving behind you everywhere you go are more coherent. The water that you are evaporating off of your skin is more coherent. Right? You don't necessarily need to go out and do big things. Like, in a way, that's kind of my job. It's very clear in my chart that I came here with the intention of being very in the public eye. But not everybody's chart has that. Not everybody's destiny is to be visible in the public eye. But the work that you do invisibly is equally valuable. And I really want to stress that. Okay. So, and then the other thing that's part of this, in this self-respect and this self-love, is something that I call the pleasure path, which is giving yourself pleasurable things, beautiful things to look at, beautiful things to eat, to smell, the things that you enjoy. Don't try to live an all or nothing life where you're denying yourself the things that you love. And the pleasure path is one of, I know that, 2 coffees, 1 coffee in the morning on an empty stomach is pleasure. I love it. But if I have a second coffee on an empty stomach, that's pain, right? So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to find that pleasure pain threshold, and I'm going to stay within that pleasure. And that makes me happy. And then when I'm happy, my photon trail is happy. The water evaporating off of me is happy. I'm contributing energetically to the collective in this settled, soothed, happy, curious, pleasant way, right? So it all begins with you. And the more you treat yourself with kindness, with respect, with love, the more other people will treat you that way. So yes, sweat coherently. Exactly. The Dowser Conference is, Dawn, I don't know. Dawn, can you find maybe a link and drop it in the chat there if anybody wants to go to that Dowsers Convention? Okay. Holy hedonism. Yes, holy hedonism. I mean, God has given us these senses. God has given us all of these beautiful things. And I think sometimes people confuse the path of spirituality with asceticism, denial. And I've been there. I've been so pure. I've given up all the things. I couldn't live in this world in that degree of purity. Everything was too garish and too hard to take. Everyone was too distorted. And, I was like, oh, I better put some poisons in my body in just the right amounts so that one, am not boring, and two, so that I can handle being here and that I want to be here because there's so many things that I love. Chocolate, an occasional cocktail, all the things. And I don't label anything as bad and then feel guilty. So if you're doing that, if you're like, oh, chocolate is bad, but I want chocolate, I'm going to eat chocolate, and I'm going to feel guilty. Like, just stop that. Stop it. Don't feel guilty. Eat the right amount with pleasure. Okay? Just eat the right amount with pleasure. And it takes some practice. Don't think you have to do all or nothing. Practice to be moderate, and you'll get there. Too many people who do this all or nothing thing spend their whole lives flopping back and forth, and they're miserable, and it's bad for your health. So aim. I mean, obviously, if you come from a long path of alcoholics and you believe you can't touch alcohol, I'm not telling you to go have a drink, okay? Not. If you know you need to be in abstinence, then stay there. But I think for most of us, it is possible to master that moderation, and it makes life way more fun. Yeah. Keep it a little dirty. I love you guys too. Okay. All right. So the tuning today is about it's about endings and beginnings. And maybe think in your mind, like, what's one thing that you're ready to see end or that you're seeing ending? What's one thing that you're ready to begin or seeing beginning? Like, I've already noticed for me in the last couple of weeks that I've had some really big awarenesses around my own behavior and subconscious behavior, miasmic patterns of behavior, old wiring, old stories. And how this subconsciously acting out was creating discomfort in my life, and really have seen it clearly and have really been able to make some concrete changes around it. So maybe this has already been in process for you, right? And you're like, I feel like we're all kind of leveling up here. So just holding in mind, and if you don't know, you don't know, but you can bring it back to, well, maybe, I'm going to end being guilty about myself. And I'm going to begin not feeling that way. Guilt often just adds a layer of binding around us, and it's not helpful, Good. Okay. I'm ready to let go of scrambling and financial scarcity and welcome abundance in all forms. Abundance comes in many different ways, right? And financial scarcity is a mindset. It's a program that's been put into us. When you realize that the game is stacked to put you there, it really is. But it forces you to be more clever, more creative, more inventive, more resourceful. Right? I think one of the best attributes that you can cultivate in yourself is resourcefulness. The resources are at hand. Right? The resources are always at hand to keep moving, because if they weren't, we wouldn't be sitting here, right? We've all found ourselves in dead ends and blind alleys and places where it seems like all hope is lost. And then what happens? We suddenly locate the resources, or the resources appear. So the more that you believe that the resources you need to help you move ahead in the game are at hand, the more readily you are going to be able to locate and implement those resources. Okay. To me, this game of life is all about, like, where are the resources to get me out of this pickle? How can I find them within or without, so that I'm not stuck struggling at some hopeless end, believing that I'm not resourceful and missing what's right in front of me. Right in front of me. And I'm not seeing it because it's in my blind spot. Yeah. So maybe this can be the beginning of being more resourceful and more effective with your resources. Yeah. Okay. All right. So a big part of today's tuning is really, for me, is listening. And and listening to where we're at and what wants to happen, right? That's really the essence of Biofield Tuning. We come in with the intention of paying close attention to observe what is going on, what's happening right now, and what wants to happen, and how can I get underneath whatever it is that's wanting to happen and give it a leg up, support it in getting on its way. So Biofield Tuning isn't about healing you. It's about helping you to heal yourself and giving you that boost of energy and coherence that you need to get into a more syntropic, coherent place, which is where we want to go. Okay, so let's everybody just take a moment, close your eyes. I'm just going to start by listening, and then I'll invite tuners to join me in a moment when we feel like we're really on to something that wants support. I have got my 144 hertz fork. If you don't have one, you can use whatever you've got. Okay, close your eyes. Do a little scan of inner space. Just notice how you're feeling in this moment. And start to deepen your breath, bringing it all the way down to your pelvic floor. It might take a few breaths to do that. Exhaling down to the ground. All right, let's begin. And the tone does keep going even after you can't hear it. So you want you to really tune into the vibration. I got my heater running in the background. It was 50 degrees when I came in here this morning. So there is a little white noise in the signal, and that might blank it out. But this is really more about tuning into the vibe and less in straining to hear the sound. Okay. All right, there's a lot of different things coming through, but I think what I'm sort of noticing is this emotional upset and then energy draining out. Blah, blah, kind of thing. Excitement, and that can also be like excitement about particular projects or ideas, and then like blah, kind of losing energy or losing focus or sort of tailing away. All right, so what we want to do here is create more presence in the container, and this is where you can grab a fork and do this with me. More presence in the moment, because there's a lot of past reacting and future this and sort of kind of all over the placeness. What it feels like we're missing here is a lack of really solid presence and focus. And so we're going to do, we're just going to invite the sound into the places in our body or our being. It feels like, some of us are just kind of missing whole slices or whole departments of self here. A lack of holistic awareness of the entirety of your being. Yeah, so we're just going to let that sound, and it's not just my forks, because we have a bunch of other tuners here that are also striking forks. And we're bringing an invitation to bring all of you really into your body, right? In my work, we are descending and expanding. We are not ascending and going up and out, right? We're committed to 3D. We're committed to our boots on the ground and being whole and here. In this moment, right? That's all we've got. That is why I pursue the pleasure path. It's like, how much pleasure can I bring into each moment of my being? Because I'm committed to this moment. I'm committed to here and now. I'm not following a carrot and a stick that there's some better tomorrow, or Jesus is coming, or I'm going to ascend, or my vibe is going to get so high that all of this is just going to disappear. Right? To me, a lot of that is really fantasy thinking that denies you the opportunity to spread out into the gift of this moment. Life is precious. The people in our lives are precious. Every breath is really precious. So noticing maybe where there's parts of you that aren't in you, that are out in front, that are grasping, that are pining with FOMO, that are, that are not saturated into your being. And I want you to really invite those parts back and let the sound relax any tension where you might be restricting your ability to settle into the moment. Right? Maybe you want to make a sound. I get wiggly and things start moving. Fear comes up as a big thing. This is very much fear of like, I'm not good enough to settle in the moment. What a nonsense story. That's something that can end, right? That's such nonsense. It's not real. You have everything you need within you, right? We don't have to go out and get the good part of ourselves. It's already here underneath the tension and noise. And when we let go of the tension and the noise and the fear and the whatever, what's that other thing? Imposter syndrome. Just all noise in the signal. Yeah, that's it. Really just start to get into your body. Love your body exactly as it is. You don't need to wait until you have a washboard stomach to actually finally love yourself. That's dumb, right? The answer to everything, any problem you have, is really simple, right? It just needs more love. It needs more love. And we don't hate or shame or berate ourselves or anyone into being a better version of themselves. Right? Let that sink in. You don't hate, shame, or berate yourself or anyone else into expressing a better version of themselves. And if movement wants to arise, let it arise. If it doesn't, sound, yawn, tears, whatever. We're kind of going through this layer of crud of beliefs and stories that are stopping you from really being in your beauty, in your radiant coherence, in your childlike illuminated nature. Everything that's in the way of stories. Right? Andy says you can attain washboard abs and still not be happy with yourself. Exactly. So just start being happy with yourself right away. It's just the way to go. We have to be good parents to ourselves, right? I was working with someone the other day and really became evident that her inner father figure was a jerk. I was like, you got to be a better father to yourself, because that's not cool. If that inner father figure that's being unkind to you is outside of you, would you tolerate it? No, because it's wildly inappropriate. This is wrong. So don't do it to yourself, right? Parent yourself. Be a good friend to yourself. All right, I'm just gonna be quiet for a minute and just let my 144 others forks just really get in there and work in the collective, find these areas of tension and work their way out. There's some real discomfort coming up here, but be willing to sit in it, right? Sometimes we have to feel that discomfort before we get to the other side of it. It's feeling some ripples of tension up and down this part of my body. Feel a little nauseous, right? So if you're feeling uncomfortable, don't bail on me. Just sit. We'll get through it. Right? We're inviting self back into self. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more with the 144. I'm going to do a little check-in and then switch forks. Last one of these. Ugh. All right, so just sit in that for a moment. I mean, we're only half baked, right? So what did you notice while we were doing that one? I noticed a lot of energy swirling around. I noticed a lot of group dynamics going on. I noticed a lot of just swirl and movement. Yeah, that's what I noticed. Eclipse so intense, I felt like I was going to cry forever. KB feels half-baked, confusion, releasing tightness and tension in the spine. It does feel like some confusion, right? It's like, wow, there's so much swirling around. I don't really know what to focus on or where to go. Or I know for me, I have a lot of different projects going on at the moment, so many that it's forced me to take myself to a whole new level of organization to manage all the nonstop inspiration that's been downloading into me. Nauseous, lightheaded. Yeah. Like I felt like that's it's sort of amplified or echoed or skirted around some patterns of tension. It moved stuff, but that didn't really feel to me like it got too deep into anything. It was kind of a whole lot of surface stuff going on. Yeah, swirling of emotions. Yeah. Teresa's a little more relaxed now. Unable to compartmentalize all the things and actually be present. Yeah, I think so. Right. So when we're talking about endings and beginnings, like really everything that you think that you want comes from bringing yourself into deeper and deeper presence, more and more and more into the moment. And that's something that tuning has really, really taught me, because tuning demands that I am in the moment, that I'm listening to the fork, that I'm paying close attention to what's happening right now. You know, if you're not a tuner yet, and maybe you don't even want to work on clients, but you want to bring yourself, you want to train your brain into an alpha brainwave state. You want to train yourself to really be very deep, 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 paying attention with all of your senses in this moment. Because that is what allows us to be resourceful, right? The more of you that is in this moment, the more you're going to be able to marshal the resources you need to solve whatever challenge is in front of you. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So now I have grabbed my 174. And the 174, I love the 144, but the 174 is the primary fork of Biofield Tuning. I'm using a hockey puck for those of you wondering what I'm banging on. This fork is just so useful for teaching us the language of vibration, which is something that really all tuners learn in time. It seems mysterious. You know, people are like, Eileen, how can you tell that that is that? It's a science. It's a language. It's not me just being intuitive. It's very nuts and bolts, truly. And anybody can learn it. Good. Okay. So here we go. Closing your eyes, settling back down into your seat. And let's see where the 174 wants to go. And tuners, if you've got 174, drag it out. Let's just do this together with me right off the bat. See, when you come to a tuning with me, you're not just getting tuned by me, but plenty of others as well. I've got my backup singers here. My chorus or choir. Yeah, this is a kind of like, the world is freaking me out. Right? I think there's kind of like a lot of that going on. But that's not really a helpful thing to carry around either. Like you can't live in a state of that. You're going to be useless. It's like frozen fear, letting your energy field be dictated by all the buffeting waves around you, right? It's a state of stuck, frozen reactivity. How's that working for you? Right? Probably not very well. So this is something that we also maybe want to end. That sort of dreamy, frozen place of Neptune in Pisces is now stepping into more fiery, action-oriented Aries. And so if you have been floundering, if you have been floating, if you haven't been able to get your feet on the ground, if you haven't been able to engage, the environment is conspiring to support you to combust in a good way, right? to fire your engine jets and actually get somewhere instead of going around in circles telling the same stupid story, right? I tell the story all the time about my kids playing video games when they were little. I was working on my thesis, reading books or whatever, and I'd watch them run around in the same room like over and over and over again, for a long time. And I'd be like, we could find the freaking resources and move on. Like, stop that. What a waste of time. The more present you are, the more you'll see what's there, what you need to do. The game is much more interesting when you move from room to room. Okay? If you haven't found the key is to make yourself more present so that there's more of you there, so that all of a sudden you see that the key has been hanging by the door all the time. All right? Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Bring up this I can instead of this I can't. Invictus, I don't want to be an empath anymore. I get that because it sucks being sensitive. I'm extremely sensitive, and I've had to learn how to navigate this world tuning's made me even more sensitive. Like I can just glance at somebody and like take in everything, right? Who the heck wants to see that? The trick is that if you're feeling like you don't want to be an empath, you are identifying with victim consciousness. And I'm sorry to be blunt. And the only reason I'm blunt around this is because I was like that for such a long time until I realized that I was telling myself wimpy victim stories. We need all the sensitive people out there. This is also stepping into Aries, right? It's like I can be an empath and I can have a strong coherent field and I can be informative of the world around me instead of reactive to it. All right? So you got to put on your big girl panties and you got to plant your feet firmly on the ground. And you've got to be grateful for your gifts of empathy, but you've got to find the stronger outgoing current of your own coherence so that you are not a victim of all the rampant incoherence in the world. This is part of being a spiritual warrior and standing up in your power and stop fussing and whining about what a wimp you are and how shitty everyone else is. It's not serving you. It's not serving any of us. All right. And it's a story, and it's a story that you can really start to change. And we need you to. And I think this is a big part of it. Like these wimpy, self-apologetic spiritual people who are like, you know what I mean? It's enough of that. Find your inner warrior, find your inner Aries, and temper it with the love and kindness and spirituality that you are. We can be both. We can be both. Right? Just really invite that warrior to step in Just invite that warrior to step in. That part of you that's going to go slay clutter. That's going to just stay clear and grounded in the face of other people's incoherence. Right? Positive thinking is your shield as an empath. I would say yes, but an even better word is constructive thinking. I don't want to respond positively to something that's not cool, but I do want to respond constructively, right? That's an empowered response. I'm not being reactive. I'm not shrinking into victimhood. I'm not trying to be positive. I'm just like stepping back, widening the lens. How can I respond to this constructively? All right. And I would swap out anytime you're like talking about being positive, I'd swap out that word and think about being constructive. Yeah, raging at the machine just makes more rage, right? I would rather alchemize the machine. I would rather charm the machine. I would rather shape the machine into something good. Right? The answer is always more love. It just is. And if something is shitty, it's devoid of love. You catch a lot more flies with honey. All these things. All right, this is some good, strong energy coming in here. So again, I'm going to be quiet. We're just going to let the 174 do its work. But think about these things that I've said and about your inner warrior and stepping into that and owning like the empath warrior. What a beautiful dichotomy, right? Owning the whole spectrum of your being and balancing it beautifully. Yeah, strengthening of the solar plexus and core, brightening, strengthening of the spine, brightening of the crown, energizing of the feet, and the commitment and presence to be here. Okay, some waves of emotion really starting to move here. Right? And if you need to move or express, do that. When something really starts to shift, my whole body goes into a wiggle. Thinking about what wants to end, letting that just be laid to rest with honor and dignity, respect, and gratitude. Okay, so what I'm feeling here is like a kind of movement that is that's going to keep moving in us, right? So I feel like I'm up on the top of the hill and I just started a ball rolling, and it's just going to keep rolling, and it is going to maybe like a snowball. It's going to gather snow and momentum. So what we're doing here today is really planting a seed that is really going to continue to grow. I know I'm mixing my metaphors, but that's what I feel. I feel like, it's not one and done, but there's been like a gathering of energies, a strengthening of the core, maybe some focus, because there was a lot of sort of lack of focus. Yeah. Hear that? That's strength. That's like, yeah, I am, right? Aries is I am. I am. And I'm cool, damn it. And I'm the only one of me. I am unique and necessary. And I own that, right? It's for all of us. Ha. Good. That really opened up some space. Feel more buoyant, feel more open in my lower back. Some kind of tension that let it go. If you have not hit the thumbs up button yet, please do that. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that. If you have not checked out my other Sonic Sundays, please do that. I'm looking for my 528 among my many forks. There we go. Okay, so gosh, how did it already get to be 50 minutes after the hour? Okay, so now I'm going to switch to the 528 and we are going to finish with this one. Right? My fork is ringing much clearer now. Yeah, it definitely does that, right? It started off pretty good and then it kind of went murky and then it really came in strong there at the end. And so we're going to use the 528 as our finishing fork. Again, just letting this come in and release any tension that you've been holding anywhere you feel it. And let this really illuminate, right? The light behind your eyes, the light in your heart, the light in your torso, and really in every cell of your being, right? You are water and electricity with a little bit of mud thrown in. And so let this come in and really touch that water, soften places where we're really holding, maybe you got a grudge against somebody or something, or you're pissing yourself about something, your partner's pissing you on. There's like this tense, grudgy kind of judgy energy here that this 528 is interacting with. So let's let that find its way into the fluids, the membranes, the light within our being, right? And you want to breathe with love, coherence, gratitude for our community here, gratitude for our miraculous lives at this wild time. How do we clear the field of non-beneficial entities? All the non-beneficial entities are you. They're just, I think, because everything is you. Love. Don't hate them. Don't be scared of them. Absorb them with love. Just that. It's easy. The answer is always love, right? We want to make it so complicated. We want to go get these $30,000 devices that are going to fix us or whatever. No. Love, God, sunlight, bird song, self-respect, self-kindness, and pleasure. Buy yourself those tulips. Love, respect, kindness. Love, respect, kindness. Hugging, accepting, not demonizing. Absorbing all of you back into you and allowing it to bloom beautifully. Okay, we're going to do just a couple more. I'm kind of already over time where I like to go. Well, this is just coming in this very fluid, pleasant kind of way. Yeah. Like, oh, I can relax and enjoy whatever, wherever you are, whatever state of mind or being, what can you let yourself enjoy? Can you really let yourself enjoy that bird song that you hear? Can you really let yourself enjoy the way the sunlight is reflecting on the water? Can you really let yourself enjoy this cup of tea that you put just the right amount of honey in? Can you really let yourself enjoy the people that you really love? It's sort of a melting, a softening, an opening. And what's coming to me is the stabilizing statement for the center of the throat, which is I rejoice. I rejoice. We rejoice in our being it. Right? It seems like such a weird thing to do in the world the way that it is. And that's all the more reason to do it. All right, I'm just going to do a few more of these, so soak it up. Wiggle, burp, yawn, cry, whenever wants to happen. Again, thinking about the light in you. Sonic anatomy tone for the bones. Can you your skeletal system? Yeah, that's it. That's beautiful. What I just saw that do to everybody. Like just in your bones helps really bring you into more presence. But the skeletal system just kind of lit up in this beautiful way. Everybody's heart's getting a little bit bigger. All right. So send some love to the people who are here, to the people who will watch this video later. Let's let our love radiate out into the world, knowing that the solution is more love and that we are doing it, that we are bringing it. All right, last one. Ah. Good. Look at all these hearts. Nice. More love. Yay, everybody. All right. So just sit for a moment in that. A little scan of inner space. Notice how you're feeling, what you're noticing. Share it in the chat or the comments if you like. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen so many hearts. Oh, I love you guys. And I'm so excited to see a bunch of you next week at Stabilizing Statements. That will be a rollicking good time, I think. We want to have fun. Yeah, good. All right. So I got some other links down below. We've got a new Sing the Body Electric course coming up, and that starts in May, right after the Stabilizing Statements. So I'm doing Stabilizing Statements for 4 weeks, and then followed by that Sing the Body Electric for 5 weeks. So I got lots of good delivery of useful things coming up. Yeah. I'm just loving all the love here. See what good job we've done of bringing more love into the world. I really honor that. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we feel lighter and that we feel more love. We've almost gone for an hour here, which is longer than we usually do. So I'm going to sign us off, sending y'all all that love back, and more so because we can amplify, right? Whatever we receive, we can amplify and send back out. So, and remember that if you are getting funky, sometimes, we spin off into our reactivity and we forget that we have resources to reel us back in. And so if you're spinning out or fussing or whatever, right, look around and go, what resources are available to me right now to set myself straight? And can I make use of those? Sometimes we just need to puddle or lose it, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? I'm a big advocate of puddling if necessary. But then there are other times when we're just fussing about nothing and don't need to be. And it's good to pull ourselves out of that. So let's make this part of that path of the spiritual warrior as we go forward with Neptune and Aries. And everybody stay coherent, stay grounded, and stay well. And I'll see you next time.